When people talk about their childhoods, they usually smile. They remember birthday cakes, vacations, bedtime stories. I don't. I remember the sound of ice cubes clinking in a wine glass, and the sharp voice of the woman who made me doubt everything about myself. My name is Kelsey Harper, and this is how my stepmother slowly tried to destroy me. I was just 12 when my mother died. Cancer. Quick. Ugly. 1 month she was braiding my hair before school, the next she was gone, leaving a cold, quiet hole in our house. My dad didn't take long to fill that hole. Within a year he married Victoria. Victoria was beautiful. Too beautiful. Long red hair, sharp green eyes, lipstick always perfect. Everyone said, "Oh, Kelsey, you're so lucky. Your dad found someone wonderful. She'll take care of you." But they didn't live with her. At first she was polite. She brought me little gifts. Took me shopping for clothes that made me feel awkward, tight, shiny things that weren't me at all. He smiled a lot. But her eyes were cold. Then slowly the masks came off. I'll never forget the first time she made me cry. I was in 8th grade, standing in the kitchen, carefully frosting cupcakes I'd made for a bake sale. Baking was my happy place. My escape. My mom used to bake with me, her hands gently guiding mine as we made the world's best lemon squares. Victoria walked in, heels clicking on the tile. She picked up one of the cupcakes, examined it like it was something she found on the bottom of her shoe, and scoffed. Cute. But you know, Kelsey, baking isn't a real skill. No one makes a living from sugar and flour. I felt my chest tighten. I want to go to culinary school someday. Open a bakery. Her laugh rang through the kitchen. Bucking. Seriously? You'll end up fat, broke, and single. Like your mother. I couldn't breathe. My vision blurred. She mentioned my mom like she was trash. Like she was nothing. I looked toward my dad. He sat at the table, eyes on his phone, pretending not to hear. As always. That was the start of her campaign to destroy every dream I dared to have. When high school came, I told her I wanted to take culinary classes at the local tech center. She shredded the permission slip right in front of me. Absolutely not. You'll take business courses. You'll learn real skills. No child of mine is going to waste her life on frosting and cookies. But I wasn't her child. And she made sure to remind me of that every chance she got. The day my college brochures arrived, she sorted through them before I even came home. My culinary school flyers? Gone. Thrown away. Instead, a stack of business program pamphlets sat neatly on my desk. "You'll thank me one day, Kelsey," she said sweetly when I confronted her. "You need stability. Security. You think anyone cares about cupcakes when they can order DoorDash? Grow up." She'd slip little barbs into every conversation. "Maybe you should try wearing some makeup. You could actually look pretty if you tried. Are you really eating that? No wonder your clothes are getting tight. Why are you so sensitive all the time? Honestly, Kelsey, it's exhausting being around you." Piece by piece she chipped away at me. Until sometimes I didn't even recognize myself in the mirror. The worst part. My father stood by, silent as stone. He didn't stop her. He didn't defend me. I think deep down he was afraid of her too. Or maybe he just didn't care enough. At night I'd lie in bed and stare at the ceiling, wondering if this was all life would ever be. Controlled. Dismissed. Silenced. She planned everything. My outfits, my classes, my friends. She told me which boyfriends were acceptable and which weren't. Spoiler. None of them ever were. She'd even call my phone during dates to check in, her voice fake sweet and syrupy like poison wrapped in sugar. And every time I so much as hinted at rebellion, she tightened the leash. "You think you can survive without me? Out there in the real world. You wouldn't last a week without my help." I almost believed her. Almost. But inside, deep, hidden under the fear and doubt, was a spark. A small, fierce flame that refused to go out. I'd remember the way my mom smiled when we baked together. The way her hands smelled of vanilla and lemon zest. The joy of pulling a perfect cake from the oven. Victoria hadn't killed that part of me. She just didn't know it was still burning. Not yet. But she'd find out soon enough. Because I was done being her quiet, obedient project. And I was going to prove that everything she said about me was dead wrong. The day I decided to break free was the day Victoria tore up my culinary school acceptance letter. I can still see her standing in the kitchen, holding the crisp envelope in her manicured hand. She smiled that cold, familiar smile and slowly ripped the letter in half, right in front of my face as if it meant nothing. This is ridiculous, Kelsey. You are not throwing your life away over pastries and sugar. You have a business degree to finish. You'll thank me someday when you're not living in a tiny apartment, rolling dough for minimum wage. I felt sick. My dream, my escape shredded into paper confetti. But what she didn't know was that I had made copies. I'd secretly applied to the New York Culinary Institute 6 months earlier. I sent my application late at night from my phone, lying in bed under the covers while Victoria slept in the master bedroom down the hall. I used money I'd stashed from tutoring, babysitting, and running errands for neighbors. Small jobs she didn't know about. When the official acceptance letter came in the mail, she must have grabbed it from the mailbox before I could see it. Typical. But she hadn't expected that an email confirmation was waiting quietly in my inbox. I sat in my room that night staring at the glowing screen, reading the words over and over. Congratulations, Kelsey Harper. Welcome to the New York Culinary Institute. My heart raced. For the first time in years I felt alive. I spent the next 2 weeks preparing my escape. I packed late at night while she slept, hiding clothes, cookbooks, and my favorite chef's knives in an old suitcase in the garage. I quietly withdrew what little money I had from the bank account Victoria supervised. My best friend Haley let me crash on her couch in Brooklyn until I could get settled. She even helped me find 2 waitressing jobs. One at a greasy diner, another at a bakery that paid cash under the table. But there was one last thing to do. Graduation day. Victoria was so proud, so smug, that I was finishing the business degree she'd forced on me. She stood by my father in the crowd, waving, smiling for photos. She probably thought she'd won. After the ceremony, she threw her arms around me. Her perfume, expensive, choking, made my stomach turn. I knew you'd see sense, Kelsey. You're going to be successful. You'll have a real career thanks to me. That's when I pulled the second copy of my culinary school acceptance letter from my purse. I held it up between us. What's this? She frowned. I'm moving to New York. Next week. I got in. Her face twisted, the fake smile shattering. Don't be ridiculous. You have interviews lined up for finance firms. You're not going anywhere. Yes, I am. I already have a place to stay. I've got 2 jobs lined up. And I've been accepted. Her jaw dropped. The color drained from her face. Without my help, without my support, you won't last a month on your own, Kelsey. You can't possibly make this work. You'll come crawling back. I looked her dead in the eye. No, Victoria. I'll never crawl back to you. I'd rather starve. Her mouth opened to argue, but I turned away, toward the future that I was choosing. New York was nothing like home. It was loud, fast, and terrifying. My apartment was barely the size of Victoria's walk-in closet. I shared a bathroom with 3 strangers. My mattress was thin and the radiator rattled all night. I worked double shifts, pouring coffee and waiting tables at the diner in the mornings, kneading dough and scrubbing pans at the bakery after class. My fingers blistered. My feet ached. Sometimes I stood crying in the walk-in fridge, wondering if Victoria was right, if I was too weak. But every time I pulled a perfect golden croissant from the oven, or frosted a cake so smooth it shimmered in the light, I knew I was exactly where I was meant to be. One day something incredible happened. I made a lemon lavender cake, an old family recipe like the ones I used to bake with my mom. My pastry chef professor saw it, tasted it, and smiled. You should enter this in the city-wide New Talents baking competition, he said. I laughed. I'm not ready for that. Yes, you are. He sent it off himself. A month later I got the call. First place. A famous chef from Manhattan offered me an internship at his Michelin-starred restaurant. And suddenly everything changed. Food blogs started writing about me. My Instagram exploded. People wanted to taste my creations. And guess who suddenly decided to reach out? Victoria. Her first text was syrupy sweet. Kelsey, darling. So proud of you. Let's have lunch soon. Talk about investing in your bakery? I've always supported your passion, haven't I? I stared at the screen. My hands shook. Oh, Victoria. She had no idea what I was planning next. She had no idea that the girl she broke had become the woman who would break her. I knew Victoria couldn't stay away for long. The moment the baking competition results hit the food blogs, she texted. Then called. Then left voicemails full of fake warmth and syrupy pride. Kelsey, sweetheart. I always knew you'd do something amazing with your life. Let's have lunch, catch up. We should talk about how I can help you open your own bakery. I have connections, you know. As if the years of cruelty and control had vanished. As if we were best friends. I stared at my phone, heart pounding, anger burning low in my chest like hot coals. She thought she could stroll back into my life now that I was useful. Now that my name was popping up in magazines and people were calling me the next big thing in New York pastry. But this time I was ready. I agreed to meet her. We chose a sleek, expensive cafe downtown. The kind of place she loved. Overpriced wine, tiny plates, waiters who judged your shoes. When she arrived, she swept in like a queen, draped in designer, her diamond bracelet catching the light. Her smile was wide and fake. "Oh, Kelsey," she gushed, air kissing my cheek. "Look at you. You've grown into such a success. I always knew you would. And now, darling, we should work together. I can help you open your own bakery. I have investors' contacts." I let her talk. Smile. Nod. Sip coffee. Until she finally leaned in, her eyes sharp and greedy. "Of course I'd expect a percentage. I mean, after everything I did to raise you into this young businesswoman." I set a thick manila envelope on the table between us. She blinked. Smiled nervously. "What's this?" "Something I thought you'd want to see." She pulled the envelope toward her and opened it. At first she didn't understand what she was looking at. Bank statements. Wire transfers. Credit card reports. Then her hands froze. Her smile vanished. Because staring back at her were years of proof that she had stolen from me. When my mother died, she left a trust fund for me, meant to cover college, living expenses, my future. Victoria, my lovely stepmother, was made the account's temporary guardian until I turned 18. Except the money was gone before I ever saw a dollar. Secret withdrawals. Luxury purchases. Spa weekends. Jewelry. Bags from Paris. I had spent months digging. Contacting lawyers. Pulling records. Secretly recording her when she bragged about handling my inheritance, like it was pocket change. Her face drained of color as she flipped through the stack. "W, where did you get this?" she whispered. "Doesn't matter. What matters is this." I slid a legal form across the table, crisp and official. "I want the deed to Grandma Rose's house. The one you manipulated Dad into selling to you after Mom died. You sign that house back to me today. Or I send this entire file to the district attorney. To the press. To Dad. To every rich friend you sip cocktails with at the club." She shook her head, mouth opening to argue, but no words came. "I wonder what your bridge group would think, knowing you stole from a grieving 12-year-old girl? Or Dad, when he finds out why I could never afford college on my own? Your reputation would be destroyed. Everything you built would be ashes." Her hands trembled. "Please. I needed that money. You don't understand." "No," I said softly but firmly. "You don't understand. You broke me for years. You made me feel worthless. But I survived. And now you're going to pay." Tears welled in her eyes, ruining her expensive mascara. "I'll lose everything," she whispered. "Sign it," I said coldly. With shaking hands she picked up the pen. And signed. I folded the papers, tucked them into my bag and stood. As I turned to leave, I leaned close to her ear. "Enjoy your empty mansion, Victoria. Because Grandma's house? The one you stole? I'm turning it into my bakery. The one you said I'd never have." Her breath hitched. I smiled. And walked away. The next week the house was legally mine. Grandma Rose's old, beautiful cottage. The one where I'd baked cookies with my mother, where sunlight streamed through the kitchen windows, was mine again. I poured everything I had into restoring it. Fresh paint. New ovens. A gorgeous pastry counter. It would become Rose and Honey Bakery, named after my grandmother and the honey cakes she used to make when I was little. "Victoria." I heard whispers. Dad found out everything. He filed for divorce. She lost her precious country club status. The invitations stopped. The friends stopped. The money stopped. She was finally alone. Just like she deserved. The day I opened Rose and Honey Bakery felt like waking from a nightmare into the brightest morning of my life. It was real. No more small apartment. No more greasy diner shifts. No more fear or doubt or Victoria's cruel voice in my head. I stood behind the polished counter of my grandmother's house. My house now, wearing my crisp white apron, breathing in the warm scent of fresh croissants, cinnamon rolls and lemon tarts. Sunlight poured through the windows, dancing on the floorboards that Dad and I had sanded together in the final weeks before the opening. When the truth about Victoria came out, something inside him broke wide open. Shame, guilt, regret, maybe even love that he'd buried too deep for too long. He left her. The divorce was ugly, fast, and public. Victoria's friends abandoned her like rats fleeing a sinking ship. The woman who once stood so tall in her designer heels now hid away, a pariah in the town she ruled for years. Dad? He showed up the day before my grand opening with a bucket of paint, rolling up his sleeves. Let me help, Kels. I should have done this a long time ago. We worked side by side, quiet at first. Then slowly we talked. About Mom. About the years he'd looked away. About everything we'd lost. I didn't forgive him right away. But I let him try. And when I flipped the sign on the door to open, he stood proudly by my side. The customers came immediately. Old neighbors. College friends. Haley, of course, dragging half of Brooklyn with her. Even my old high school teachers who remembered the shy girl who used to bring homemade cookies to class. Everyone smiled, everyone praised the food, the space, the name. But there was one face I didn't expect to see. Standing across the street, under a dark umbrella in the drizzling rain, was Victoria. Her once perfect hair hung limp. No makeup. No diamonds. No power. Just a small, thin woman watching the world she tried to kill come roaring back to life without her. Our eyes met. I smiled. Sweet. Then I pulled a tray of fresh lemon lavender cakes, the same ones that won me the competition, from the oven and set them in the window for her to see. Her shoulders slumped. She turned and walked away. That was the last time I ever saw her. The months that followed were the best of my life. Rose and Honey was a hit. Local papers wrote glowing reviews. Food bloggers filmed reels in my cozy kitchen, capturing golden croissants and rose-shaped apple tarts dusted with powdered sugar. One day, a famous chef stopped by for coffee and left with a box of pastries, and a promise to recommend me for a spot on a national cooking show. I'd done it. I'd become everything Victoria said I never could. Not just successful. Not just independent. But free. I stood in my kitchen late one night wiping the counters when my phone buzzed. A message from Dad. So proud of you. Mom would be too. Want to have dinner tomorrow? My treat. No Victoria. Just us. I smiled. My heart felt lighter than it had in years. For so long I thought revenge would mean hurting Victoria back. Ruining her. Breaking her the way she broke me. But this quiet triumph, was better. Because she had to live with what she lost. She lost control. She lost her image. She lost me, the girl she thought she could shape into a lifeless, obedient shadow. And I had everything. A bakery full of light and warmth. A future built with my own hands. The scent of vanilla, cinnamon, and lemon zest filling the air. Home. I flipped the lights off, ready to lock up for the night when I saw something on the counter. A small photograph. It was my mom, holding me as a baby in Grandma Rose's old kitchen. I'd found it in a dusty box while cleaning months before and left it by the register. I touched the worn edges gently, tears prickling my eyes. I did it, Mom, I whispered. I made it. Without her. Without anyone controlling me. And for the first time in years I felt peace. A quiet, deep peace. I didn't need to destroy Victoria's life. I just needed to live mine. And that was the sweetest revenge of all.